baby best friend. You're my baby. Say hi. You ready to learn about circles? Yeah? Okay, go play. All right. Welcome back to day 2, week 2 of Quarantine Classroom. I'm excited. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson yesterday. We're going to dive right back into deepening our understanding of circles and how to navigate circles in today's lesson, which is circumference. So take out your notebook, get your pens, get your pencils, all of that stuff. Buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. The first thing that we're going to start off with is coming and deepening our understanding of something that is known as pie. What is pie? I like pie. My favorite pie is cheesecake. Send me one. And apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Delish. Note to self. Go get some apple pie and vanilla ice cream. How's that sound, Maddie? Sound good? Okay. What is pie? We're gonna click this video and watch it together because I feel like that would just be the best use of our time. And I'm gonna press play and stop talking. That's no good.
Daddy, I'm almost finished.
Okay, let's try this one more time. All right, I think I figured out what happened. And this time, when I start the screen share, I am going to make sure that you guys can follow along with me. Come on, dude. All right.
Pi. What is pi? Well, pretty much all of us know that pi is approximately 3.14, but that doesn't really tell us much about pi. What is pi? How did it get its name? Who discovered it? And how did they approximate it? Well, that's a lot to explain. So I've challenged myself to cover all of these bases in 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So without further ado, I present to you the complete history and complete explanation of pi in 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Somewhat. Here we go. Pi. Not the kind you eat, but the kind you plug into your calculator to solve equations involving circles, spheres, and various other shapes. Most commonly approximated as 3.14 or 22/7, pi is an irrational number that is usually represented by the Greek symbol pi. Yes, the symbol as well as the number is referred to as pi. An irrational number, in case you didn't know, is a number with decimal places that spiral on infinitely with no discernible pattern. For a more formal definition of pi, let us look to the most forbidden of research sources, Wikipedia. Pi is commonly defined as the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Okay, look at this circle here. Are you looking at it? Look at it. Are you looking at it now? Okay, good. The diameter of this circle, which is, as you probably know, the distance from one side of a circle to a point on the direct opposite side, is 23. And the circumference, which is the distance around the entire circle, is about 72.25. If you divide the circumference by the diameter, you're going to get 3.14. This applies to all circles. If you get a tape measure and measure the diameter and the circumference of a circle, the ratio of the diameter to the circumference will always be pi, or approximately 3.14. Let's talk a little bit about the history of pi. Well, let's start with the most basic of questions, which is why did they name this somewhat aberrant number after a baked dish which is usually made of a pastry dough casing that covers or completely contains a filling of very sweet or savory ingredients? I will answer your question now. The symbol of pi is actually a letter in the Greek alphabet. In both English and Greek, this letter, and therefore the number pi represents, is pronounced simply as pi. Popularizing this notation of pi is a man from the past who published a book in 1736 in which he referred to the ratio of the circle's diameter to its circumference as the Greek letter pi. This man's name was Leonhard Euler. Yes, I know it looks like Euler, but it's pronounced as Euler. You might have heard of him. He didn't have a ton to do with the actual discovery of pi, but he's still a pretty cool guy. this leads me to my next point. Who discovered pi? There's still a lot of debate about this. Some believe it to have been first approximated by the Egyptians because the construction of their pyramids leaves evidence of the architect's possible knowledge of pi. Others say no, it was the Babylonians in the 19th century BC. Gosh! So let's skip forward a bit in history where things get a little bit clearer. The first recorded algorithm for rigorously calculating the value of pi was created by a man named...
Okay, all right. Whew, boy, that was a lot. So the main thing that we need to pull out of this information is this. Pi is a variable that we use to represent a number. And that number is 3.14 for short. So pi equals 3.14. And there are a certain set of formulas. Girls, shh. This is quarantine classroom. Go close the door. Oh, thank you, honey. Gotta get me iced out. Okay, so quarantine classroom is, oh geez, I'm all mixed up. Fuzzy. Okay, pi. We have certain formulas that we use for pi, but at its core essence, pi is equal to 3.14. You will use pi as 3.14 for any like pen to paper calculation that you would do. The only time that you use the very elongated number of pi is when you're actually using a calculator, because it's easier and it's more precise than doing the numbers on your own. So stop it. Okay. So we're gonna go back into the lesson and kind of pick up where we left off. I'm going back to share my screen. So here we are. The pi symbol represents the ratio of the circle's circumference to its diameter. So in theory, pi is equal to circumference divided by diameter. There are many approximations that are commonly used for pi. When you're using a quick mental approximation, you can just use pi is equal to 3. When you want to do the most common approximation is going to be 3.14. Make sure you're writing this down in your notes so that you don't like get mixed up later. And the pi key on a calculator, so like I can pull up the calculator on my phone, and the pi on the calculator is going to be way more approximate than anything else. Still not exact, but it's going to be a lot closer. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like when I do it on my phone. So here I have my lovely iPhone, and I'm going to press the pi button, and that is the number that I get. It even goes longer than that, but this is what the iPhone is going to tell you 3 pi is equal to, which is a bunch of numbers. And if you can remember this, then I will give you like $20 out of my own pocket. But you have to say it without looking at anything or, you know, cheating. Anyway, so going back to the lesson at hand, and answers that involve pi can be left in different formats. The exact answer could be answers that are left in terms of pi. So if we wanted to say the circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, and the diameter is 4, we could just say 4 pi or 4 times pi. Approximate answers are answers that evaluate using an approximation of pi. So if the diameter was 4, we would do 4 times 3.14 for an approximation of what the circumference would be. This seems like a little bit of mumbo jumbo. This is going to make a lot more sense in practice. But what I want you all to be familiar with is the formulas that we're going to be using and how we can use our multiplication and division properties to like rework this depending on for whatever we need. What I mean is this. If the original formula is circumference divided by diameter equals pi, then that means that we could find circumference by doing diameter times pi equals circumference. Remember, isolate the variable. We want to get c by itself, we will multiply d on both sides. That cancels out, and then it's just pi times d. Pi times d is equal to c. Great. Or we could say c divided by pi equals diameter. So, or circumference divided by diameter. Oh, diameter. Sheesh. Circumference divided by pi equals diameter, which is the other formula that we should have on here. Circumference divided by pi equals your diameter. You can use your multiplication and division properties, and this proves this. So when would we use the 3.14 or the pi symbol? When we're solving anything by hand, like I said, when we're solving things by hand, we use 3.14 and we substitute that for pi. The only time that you use pi as the symbol to do your calculation is when you're using a calculator. There's this really nifty link down here. But most of you all have iPhones. You can just open up your calculator on your iPhone and turn it horizontally, and then you'll see the pi symbol toward the bottom of the screen. Either way, you can use that or this link to this online calculator to be able to use it for your work online. Moving on. Wow, look at all this time that we're killing. Okay, our first example involves using the circle below to calculate the circumference. In order to do this, I know that you guys, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna stop the video right here and I'm gonna reload another video for you guys. How's that sound? Great!